Hey YouTube, Jumpy here. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm gonna do a little preventive maintenance here on the Raptor 200. It's time for an oil change. I definitely need to grease the Zerk fittings on this guy, wash it, and then lube the chain. So I thought I'd make a quick video showing how to do that. Hope you enjoy. All right, sort of laid out the tools you'll need for this job here. Floor jack. It's going to be easier to jack up the front end and put it on a jack stand to access those Zerk fittings on the front end of the ATV. Got a funnel. I've got the synthetic oil I use on this guy, 15W40. You could also, it's recommended for synthetic to do 15W50. Quad runs fine with the 40. Paper towels, funnel, soapy water. I use soapy water, which let's see here, it's dish soap, oil catch reservoir, the jack stand, or yeah, two sockets here. One is going to be 13/16 and the other is 17mm to take off the axle nut, which is going to be the 13/16, and then 17mm is the nuts that hold the tire on. You could also use a ratchet if you'd like. Just recently got that DeWalt impact wrench. I'll be using that for the first time. As you can see, we've got some cotter pins. You're going to need those to after you put the castle nuts on to hold them in place. To remove the castle nuts, we got some needle nose and some channel locks. They come in super handy. I got my grease gun and some Lucas Extra heavy duty grease. I used to use the Red and Tacky Lucas brand. It worked great. My only complaint is the fact that it would, being in Arizona, it gets pretty hot here, and after an extended amount of time, it starts to run. I use it on the bearings on my camper trailer, and if it sits for too long, you'll see red liquid as it kind of breaks down. And then I got a lubricant here, just a cheap SuperTech lubricant. That's for the chain after I wash the ATV. Always a good idea to lubricate that chain so it doesn't rust on you. Now for the soapy water here, I'm using that for the, sorry for the panning here, for the first stage air filter located here. There's a little filter in here that obviously filters the air. Okay, so the front end is jacked up. I placed some wheel chocks behind the back just to make sure nothing slides. So I placed the actual jack underneath the solid point of the skid plate, up front. Not sure if you can see that. And then the jack itself, I placed right under the front, very front portion of the frame. You don't want to place any weight on the upper or lower control arms, suspension, or the tie rod ends, which are the gold color bars back there. At this point, I'm just going to keep a little bit of weight on the floor jack, and then most of the weight's rested on this jack stand. All right, now that the front end is jacked up, we're going to go ahead and remove the cotter pins from the castle nut on both tires. Here's the other side. All right, now we're gonna work on the castle nuts. All right, let's take up the first castle nut here. All right, on the other side of the ATV. All right, now let's get the 17mm nuts off. All right, let's remove the remaining 17mm nuts. Sorry, one-handed here. And then you're gonna have washers on both sides to take off. All right, so you're gonna take your grease gun, and what I do first is I go around to each of these Zerk fittings on the ATV and I'll clean them off with a napkin just to remove any dirt or debris. Simply attach until it basically clicks and you start pumping. I usually do about 4 or 5 pumps per Zerk fitting. Some of these are in some awkward spots. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and mount the wheels and tighten the nuts. All right, now we're gonna put in the cotter pins. It's always a good idea to use brand new cotter pins every time you remove a set. I think I bought a 90 pack or something for 10 bucks on Amazon, so no real worry about running out anytime soon. So I'm gonna pinch these down just because there's a rubber boot that goes over and I need it to fit. Not the prettiest job in the world, but it will hold. And rinse and repeat on the other side. All right, on the other side. You might have to adjust your castle nuts to open up a position for the cotter pin to drive through. It's monsoon season here in Arizona, and it's about 110, but the humidity's super high. So I apologize if I'm dripping sweat all over the place, but I'm sweating like a snitch at a gangster party. Okay, at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and lower the ATV down after I take out the floor jack. All right, at this point, I'm gonna remove the first stage air filter. And I'm gonna clean this in some soapy water. All right, brace comes off, screw facing towards the engine. So the air filter comes off like so, and there's a screw holding a little bit of a housing inside, and you got to unscrew the middle screw from the outside to access. And holding plate, metal screen, and last but not least, your filter. I'm going to throw all three of these in a bucket of hot soapy water to remove the dirt and the residual oil I used to lubricate it the first time. Okay, so the filter, the wire screen, and the housing are all in the soapy water, and all I'm doing is agitating each surface to remove any oil or dirt. Here's the air filter. And all I'm doing is squeezing and releasing. I don't want to tear, so I kind of have to be gentle with it. And to be honest with you, like Dawn dish soap does really well at removing oils and dirt, kind of like the commercial show. All right, and now the screen, I just want to kind of run water through, and yeah, that should do it. Okay, so after agitating in the soapy water, I went ahead and rinsed everything off with clean water. I'm going to want to dry all of these pieces here, especially this guy, the foam filter itself. So squeeze whatever remaining water may be in it, and what I like to do is use clean paper towels and press dry a few times in different areas to get all the water out of it. Now you want to keep everything clean doing this. You don't want to put any more dirt on it. Now I'm going to let this sit in a clean spot to continue drying while I clean the casing and then the wire screen. So as far as the lubrication goes, I use, after this foam filter's dry, I use just a tiny bit of my synthetic oil and kind of squeeze it together to incorporate the oil throughout the filter. And then with a clean paper towel, I will squeeze the residual oil out. It doesn't take much, but all that does is lubricates the filter to assist in catching any dirt that may be being sucked in by your intake. So there's lots of ways to do it. I just prefer this method. So use whatever's comfortable for you. All right, we've made it to the oil change process on this Raptor. Now, when I bought the quad, I ran it for 12 miles and did a quick oil change. Now, let's rewind a little bit. When you receive the quad new, especially when it's shipped to your house, obviously they're probably going to change the oil for you at the dealership if you buy it from a dealer. But if it's shipped to your house, it's going to have a clear mineral oil in it, just as a protectant that you have to drain before running your quad. So I did that, and then after I put about 12 miles on it, I decided to go ahead and do another oil change. That may sound wasteful, but I'm glad I did, and I'll tell you why. So after 12 miles, I loosened the dipstick, and then when I drained, I've got a oil reservoir here. By the time it drained, I was able to see pieces of gasket that had drained out, as well as lots of aluminum shavings. Now, shavings are going to be normal, but it's always a good idea to get rid of them as fast as you possibly can. These shavings were not attached to the magnet on the fill plug, or excuse me, the drain plug. These were free-floating aluminum shavings that happened to catch in my oil drain catch reservoir. So I guess that gave me some peace of mind. So what I do here is, to get started, you're going to need a small tip funnel, oil catch reservoir, something to protect your concrete, 17 millimeter. And so this Pennzoil is a bottle I use to measure the ounces. I do not use the Pennzoil oil, just wanted to make that clear. I use the Mobile Delvac Extreme 15W40. Like I said, you could use 15W50. This is solely just to measure 25 ounces. So to begin, I usually remove the oil dipstick, set it aside, and I'm gonna have to set this up so you guys can see. But if you go underneath, you will find a little hole, which is this. And if you look up, there's the oil drain plug. Now, when you loosen this, take caution. It is spring loaded, so if you're not careful, you're gonna lose the spring and your plug and a little filter screen. And once that's removed, it doesn't come out in a straight stream, so you're gonna have a lot of drain oil, used oil, up here on your skid plate. You can see where I didn't do a good job at cleaning it from the last oil change, but it pools there as it drains, and it gets all over your exhaust, which you just run, it burns off, but just giving you a heads up. So at this point, I'm gonna set the phone up so you could see the process. Okay, well, time to start the process of draining. All right, so I'm gonna try to possibly hand loosen it. In here. All right, I'm keeping one finger directly underneath
the drain plug. That way it doesn't pop out. I'm able to have some sort of control over it. And there it goes. Now, as you can see, the drain process is a very messy endeavor. If you guys have any ideas how to simplify this, please shoot me a comment. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and let this drain, and I'll get back to you. Okay, we're done draining oil at this point. Now, I wanted to mention here, there's the spring, there's the drain plug, and this is a little wire filter. Seems clean. So when you put it back into the motor, it's gonna be set up this way. Spring, small slide down, fat side up, and then the screen filter sits in like that. I'm gonna go ahead and install that. I don't know if you guys can see that, but a lot of that right there is aluminum shavings from inside the motor. I guess that keeps the precedence on maintaining your vehicles to increase the longevity. I'll go ahead and plug it and then go ahead and fill 25 ounces and start it up. All right, so at this point, the oil drain plug has been put back in, and now I'm gonna fill with 25 ounces of the synthetic oil. Take your time, you don't want it to overflow. Sometimes you're gonna need to lift up on the filter itself, or excuse me, the funnel itself, to aid the flow of fresh oil. We're almost there. All right. Now you're going to want to insert the dipstick. And we are full. All right, all I need to do now is wash it and then lubricate the chain. I would recommend check your tire pressure before you head out. Always a good idea, always a good habit. Hope this video has helped anybody who had any questions about maintenance on their ATV, preventative maintenance. Talk to you later. Start it. You set it to run. Remember the black button to start. Those are headlights. There you go, buddy. Wow, you fixed it.